5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We are live. Hello and welcome to the Vegansteven podcast. Vegansteven's a fictional character. All characters and events in the show, even though it's based on real people, are entirely fictional. All celebrity voices are impersonated poorly. The following program contains personalities and gratuitous content should not be viewed by anyone. Ooh, hello. How you getting on? Right, the journal. Where were we? How are we getting on? Joe Biden wears face mask in first public appearance. Who gives a fuck? Alright, next. Your evening long read. I met Edward Snowden, and since then, I haven't stopped watching my back. Shit, yeah, Edward Snowden's a whistleblower, and I don't know, man, he's in hiding. Alright, we'll keep going. Boris Johnson says he regrets confusion and anger caused by Dominic Cummings controversy. Alright. Brian May, I wish I could have died. Queen guitarist Brian May recovering after heart attack. Shit. Alright. Got another heart attack. Also, 9 forests in Dublin Mountains to be upgraded for recreational use. Cheeky. And China says virus pushing US ties to brink of Cold War. Alright, so I'm staying in New Ross right now, and it is very nice. But the thing about New Ross is it's one of the oldest towns in Ireland, cities or what have you, and everywhere you go you start seeing these really old brick buildings, really small ones, the size of your bedroom. And why they're so small and so on is the land was taken off the Irish and rented back to the Irish by the British, the landlords or whatever. And there was all sorts of outrageous taxes, like a window tax. So the the cottages have like fuck all windows, because you had to pay more if you had a window. Lads. The famine. We'll never forget, eh? So, yeah, a lad was pointing out to me today, everyone had to leave Ireland to go on the famine. Because of the famine. There's no potatoes in Ireland. So, they all had to get on a boat to America. And they were showing me this boat, and I wouldn't like to be on it for any more than a day at the most, maybe 12 hours. These lads were on the boat for 2 months, going from Ireland to America. And sometimes, if it was a slow trip, could be dipping into 3 months. But let's just say 2 months, that's long enough, like. It wasn't a big ship. Oh my god. This is like, before Netflix, like, Jesus Christ. So it's a wonderful area I'm in. I'm able to see did you ever hear of John F. Kennedy? His wife Jackie Kennedy built John F. Kennedy a house, just like fucking next door or some shit. So there's all these houses. It's a very old timey place, and someone was bringing me to like one of the centre hubs to walk me down these back roads, and there was this tiny little house, and it turns out it was the fucking pub. So the size of your living room. So you and your whole family live in a gaff the size of your bedroom, and then you and everybody else, in the town, is jammed into this tiny little pub, which is the size of your living room, and it's just like a room in someone's gaff. And they're like, we'll make a few bob, let's turn it into a pub. That's still going to this day. It's still going. The heart of the town is like, you got a pub that is the size of your living room, you got a church, and you have a graveyard, and that's it. It's wonderful everywhere around here. I'm kind of on the outskirts of New Ross. It's just farmland, and wild. All that green. Views for miles. I'm used to living in the cities and you can't see very far. You'd see the house across the road from you or something. But further than that, you'd be a bit pushed. Yeah. So, New Ross and Waterford, some of the places which fucking the Vikings or whatever would have came in, the invaders would have came in. It's just the whole thing is fucking wild, and everyone just keeps going, oh sure, that's pre-famine, that's pre-famine. Famine was like 100 years ago or something, and so all this stuff is 200 years old, pretty much, like, and Christ, the old ways, eh? Christ, no smartphones, no nothing. Fucking wild enough. Oh. New Ross is in Wexford. So the famine ship, by the way, is called Dunbrody, and Dunbrody was the name of the famine ship. And you can actually go, it's a tourist attraction, which is fucking crazy. You can go into the ship and have a walk around. It's fucking wild. Fucking Jesus. Yeah, so if someone doesn't know what the famine is, there was no fucking food. And everyone had to leave Ireland. And if you got a bit of food, like, I don't know, eating a fox or something, you'd be shot for hunting the land on the landlord's land and all this stuff, just like English invaders or whatever. Fucking hell, famine. Was 1845 to 1849. Oh, so it was 4 years of not eating and starving. How many people died in the famine? 1 million. During the famine, about 1 million people died, and 1 million more emigrated from Ireland, causing the island's population to fall by 20 to 25%. Fucking wild. Did the British starve the Irish? Oh, very cheeky, very cheeky. The British policy of mass starvation inflicted on Ireland from 1845 to 1850 constituted genocide against the Irish people, as legally defined by the United Nations. Oh, whoops. A quote by John Mitchell, who published the United Irish, states, "The Almighty indeed sent a potato blight, but the English created the famine." Oh, yeah, shit. Man, that's a bit shitty. That's a bit shitty. What was the worst year of the famine? During the famine, there is hunger and malnutrition, starvation, often death among people. Irish had the worst famine in 1845. When a famine called the Great Famine occurred, it lasted until 1850, but the worst years were between 1845 and 1849. Man, just fucking no food. You're not allowed to even fish, or you'll get shot. Or I don't know, you get put up to death anyway for fishing. Oh, lads. Could the Irish potato famine have been avoided? The problem was not solely the potato blight, for the Irish farmers produced other crops The problem was that landlords exported these crops, whereas these exports could have been curtailed, they were not. So, yeah. Lads, I'm getting pretty angry. That's the thing, man. As soon as you start looking into Irish history, you just get so fucking angry. And normally I just turn off the TV, but I can't do that in this situation. Did Protestants died in the famine? Alright, whatever. Anyway. The Great Irish Famine is here. Alright, what we got? Great hunger, mass starvation, Irish languages dominant. Country, United Kingdom of Great Britain and Ireland. Jeebers. Alright. Let's see what else we got here. Eviction. Landlords were responsible for paying the rates of every tenant whose yearly rent was £4 or less. Landlords whose land was crowded with poor tenants were now faced with larger bills. Many began clearing the poor tenants from their small plots and letting the land in larger plots for over £4, which reduced their debts. Shit. In 1846 there had been some clearances, but the great mass of evictions came in 1847, according to fucking some lad. Jesus. The whole thing's just a shit show. 700 human beings were driven from their homes in one day and sent adrift on the world. To gratify the caprice of one who, before God and man, probably deserved less consideration than the last and least of them. Jesus. So there's a lot of lads going on. Oh, lads, very emotional. Also, the famine ship, if you want to buy it. Oh! So you can buy the famine ship for 400,000, but as far as I see, they made a replica for 4 million. So the replica cost 4 million? Alright, so it's not. I wasn't looking at the real ship, but that's all good. Alright, what else have we got going on here? We got a fall in household spending by 20% with the old COVID-19. Money diaries as a 43-year-old software technician earns 35k working from home. And aftermath. Ireland's mean age, that means average age, of marriage in the 1930s was 23 for women and 27 for men, where they had once been 21 for women and 25 for men. And those who never married numbered about 10% of the population. In 1840, they had respectively risen to 24 and 27 in the decades after the famine, and women marriage had risen from 28 to 29 and 33 for men. So, getting older. Older and wiser. Potato blight would return to Ireland in 1879. Though by then, the rural cottier tenant farmers and labourers of Ireland had begun the land war, described as one of the largest aggregation movements to take place in the 19th century of Europe. The Land League and all this. Brilliant. Irish Times, Ireland is again collateral damage in Britain's self-harm. Right. Celebrity Big Brother, Tara Reid, says she's in defined talks with Carol Baskin. Sure, what is going on? What is going on? Alright, here we go. Mike Tyson, vegan for 10 years, says I'm the best shape ever. Jeepers. Yikes. Teenage engineering, POW 16. Trump administration discussed nuclear tests. Alright. There's loads of mad shit going on. In the world today. So, according to mrs.org.library, it says, in fact, most glaring cause of the famine was not the plant disease, but English long-running political hegemony over Ireland. The English conquered Ireland several times and took ownership of vast archaeological territory. The Irish suffered from many famines under English rule. It's so mad that like crops were being made in Ireland but they're being shipped out. It's so fucking wild, isn't it? Like, there's so many films that have been made about the famine. They're all fucking heartbreaking, man. Seeing people like fucking starving to death, going knocking door to door for an egg, like, and lads eating rotten old food, and actually, you know yourself, just no lols to be had, no crack. Very awkward one, man. The old famine. Nothing will tame the anger. For fuck's sake. So here's some stuff. Ireland was on the brink of disaster due to laws based heavily in favour of landlords. In the 18th century, the middleman system was introduced to manage land, which left rent collected on agencies. The ability of the middleman was judged by the amount of money he could extract for the landlords. The law was heavily biased in favour of the landlords as they dominated Irish representation in Britain. Oh, tenants lived in abject poverty, with the population of the island rapidly increasing, widespread unemployment among labourers, and majority of population living in poverty. Ireland was on the verge of disaster. Fuck. Man, I'm looking at a picture of inside the gaff. They have the fucking chickens and the pigs inside the gaff with them. Just fucking no room. Maximum extractions from the land led to potato becoming most popular crop. The middleman split the land's hoardings of landowners into smaller and smaller parts to increase the amount of rent they could extract from the tenants. By the year the famine struck, about 1/4 of the Irish farms were 0.2 to 4 hectares / 1 to 5 acres in size. All the holdings were so small no other crop but potato could survive to feed the families of the tenants. So there's fuck all land. Poverty was so widespread that 1/3 of the tenants which held small lands were not able to support their families after paying rent to the owners. Fuck. Britain had a huge market of beef due to the market demand. Large parts of the island of the land were used by cows for grazing. Due to smaller plots of land, the Irish turned to potatoes as no other crop could be grown. Fucking wild. The average Irish worker ate 10 pounds of potatoes every day. Oh, could you be arsed? And about 2/5 of the population of the island were solely dependent on potato. Fuck. This is a learnodo.com, by the way. 4. Potato blight was the primary reason behind the Great Famine. Holy fuckers. So there you have it. So it looks like England's getting the blame. Sorry. Alright, so that was a little bit about the Great Famine. And I tried to keep it light. I know I got a little bit emotional. But I hope you're doing well. And thank you for being you. I'll see you again. It's Vegansteven podcast. Sign out. See you there.